Awesome. So first things first, guys. This last week in Facebook ad land was kind of a madhouse for, especially for agency guys like me, people running agencies, people managing multiple ad accounts. Facebook made some really big changes, and I don't know exactly what day it was or when, but at some point last week, the campaigns just started turning off for us. These are campaigns that we've been running for weeks, sometimes months, with no changes, extremely profitable campaigns, spending hundreds of dollars a day on these ads. And all of a sudden, like that, overnight, they were gone. And there wasn't any explanation. There wasn't anything like that. They just turned them off. And when you go into Ads Manager, this is my favorite part. They give you some weird, vague message. If you run your own ads, you've probably seen something like this. It just says, a policy has been violated. But they don't tell you which policy. Sometimes they'd call out something more specific. Like I had an ad that was shut down for like calling out racial stuff or gender stuff or something like that. It was nowhere to be found in the ad. So we take a lot of care at Funnel Owl, my agency. We know Facebook ads policies. We know how to use them correctly. And when we write ads for our clients, that's one of the things that we bring to the table is we have a lot of people who, if they just went and I let them write what they write on their sales page or let them write what they say on their webinars, those ads would not get approved at all. But we know what we're doing here, and we've learned from some of the best. And so even experienced guys like us get our ads shut down. Luckily, we didn't have any ad accounts shut down, but there are, I do know a number of other super reputable, very high quality agencies, very talented ad managers that had multiple ad accounts shut down last week. Luckily, they got those back eventually, but it was a huge pain in the butt, huge waste of time, really. So I've also received a bunch of emails from people who weren't agency clients, but they're like, hey, I can't get this ad approved. I can't get this approved. What do I do? You know? And that's what I want to show you today is what do you do when your ad gets disapproved? Because knowing this is really the difference between like blindly groping around and actually getting something done. So we're going to jump into my computer here, and I'm going to show you the magic place that I go here. So let's see if I got that set up correctly. This is the magic page that you need to go to, and I'll drop this in the comments on the Facebook Live. Let me see if I can actually do that from right here, so you guys can click it while I'm doing this. Let's see, page. So this is the page that you want to go to, and it's so the headquarters of the people that we're going to be talking to are actually in Austin, Texas. So here's the link. Dropped it in there. So the headquarters of the people that we're talking to, they're actually in Austin, Texas. I'm in Austin, Texas. Total coincidence. That doesn't really get me any special treatment, though. Although earlier this month, I actually got to go on a tour of Facebook headquarters here in Austin. And here in Austin is where they have all of their ad reps are here. Anyone who's disapproving your ads, appealing your ads, all of those people are located right here in Austin. So I got to go see their offices and kind of go behind the scenes a little bit earlier this month. It was super fun. But like I said, it's not giving me any special treatment. So on this page, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a lot of info here. I don't use most of it, but if you go down to the bottom here, there's a chat icon, and this is really important. This is the best place to get support. It's only available during business hours for Austin, Texas. We're in the Central Time Zone, so business hours, you're going to get these. Click that chat thing. It's going to pull up a message, and you just fill out some basic stuff here. And once you do that, let me take a risk here. Did my live stream get ended? Okay, that was weird. Was it still sharing my screen if I switch tabs? I wonder. I go to Messenger and pull this up. Let me see. Okay. Sorry, I had to pull that up on my phone and make sure it wasn't. So here's a chat. This is like every chat thing I've ever submitted to them, but it goes into Messenger, and you have these basically an actual Messenger session where you're chatting with about all this stuff. I'm gonna have to close that down because it's got my client info in it. But it takes you right into Messenger, and you can actually chat with them right there. Now, here are a couple of things that I always emphasize when I'm talking to them. One, you're not trying to get it turned back on. You're trying to figure out why it was turned off so that you can fix it, okay? You're there to play within the rules. You want to play within the rules. And I always try to emphasize that, like, hey, these warning messages you give me, they're vague. They're not helpful. So can you help me? And a lot of times they can't right away. So, but by getting on chat, they have channels to some other secret cave of Facebook people, and those people can give you the info that you need. And sometimes you'll find out why. Sometimes they'll give you some vague tips. But what happened in the case with me this week was I submitted the ads. I was like, hey, I can't figure out why these are getting disapproved. We've been running them for months. Just tell me what policy I'm violating, and I'll fix it. I just don't know what to fix. And I was kind of expecting them to, this particular offer was about getting out of debt. And so I was kind of expecting them to come back and not like the offer, not like the landing page or something. But really, they just appealed the whole campaign. It was 2 campaigns that got disapproved. And they just appealed the whole thing. And I didn't hear from them for 24 hours. You know what? I didn't hear from them back at all, except to say that, like, here's a survey, how'd I do? But what really happened was, all of a sudden my ads were just running again, and so far it's been like 36 hours, 48 hours, and they haven't gotten turned back off again. So that's good. Anytime you get an ad disapproved, go to this page. I dropped the link in the comments right here so that you can get to it, but look for the chat icon. If they don't have chat, click on email. They actually have pretty good email support, and you can even put in a request to have them call you back, which is, believe it or not, it's actually pretty helpful. But like I said, this last week was chaos in Facebook ads land. Every Facebook ad group that I'm in is basically filled with people trying to figure out how to get their ads turned back on. And yeah. So now you know what to do. Now you've got that link. Make sure you bookmark that. The next thing I want to get into, because I'm running a few launches right now, I want to talk about some live launch strategies and what's working right now, what you should do. So my phone's like playing my voice like a few seconds behind. There we go. I was distracting. So the way that you launch a product, I'm sure you've seen the most common way to launch a product is with a webinar, right? And one of the reasons that is because of the customer journey. So when people are going to buy something from you, especially if it's like $500 to $1,000 to $2,000, that's kind of like the sweet spot for selling on a webinar. Anytime you're going to sell something at that level, then people are going to have to go on a journey with you, and they're going to have to go on it pretty fast. They're going to have to know, like, and trust you, try you out, get some results, and then finally buy from you, all in a really short period of time. A lot of the launches that I run send a lot of people from just totally cold traffic, and we bring them in and they buy 4-figure products. Now, how do we do that? The reason is because of the webinar. There's a framework. I'm not going to get super into it on this webinar because it's a really big framework, but it's called the upside model, and it's kind of the model of how people get to know you and kind of what stage of the buying process they're in. At the very bottom, they're like totally unaware. They don't even know they have a problem, right? That's kind of relatively difficult step. So usually that's kind of like left alone. The next step up from that is problem aware. They know they have a problem. They want to solve the problem, but that's pretty much as far as they've thought. The step above that is solution aware. So now these people, not only do they know they have a problem, but they know there are solutions out there in the marketplace, and that's kind of what they're looking for. Those last two steps that we talked about, they know they have a problem and they know there's a solution. Those are like the sweet spot for Facebook ads. If you can get your Facebook ads in front of those people using cold traffic and just agitating that problem and identifying with it and kind of offering your solution, you're going to do great. The step above solution aware is why for your solution aware. Now these people actually know there's a solution and you actually have it. So, and then the final step is just, hey, they need a deal, and that's really it. They just need a deal and they're going to buy. So that's what we call the upside model. I can do a lot more trainings on that in the future. It's kind of a big topic, but I say that because your ads have to take people along that journey for them to convert. And with a webinar, you have so much time. People are actually giving you their time. It's just as good as them paying money. Now, I know you can't spend their time to run your business, but as far as customer commitment and engagement goes, and like somebody sitting there and listening to you teach for an hour while you pour value into them and then make an offer, that's huge. Opening their wallets and opening their calendars are the two ways that people show commitment. So you've got them to do that step on the webinar. And then because of the time, you're able to take them from the problem aware to solution aware to your solution aware and move them multiple steps all in that one webinar. Now that's why webinars are super, super effective. There's a bunch of other reasons, but that's why we love them for Facebook ads. We can find people at those lower levels of awareness levels, and we can take them between the ad and the webinar all the way to the top and convert them. So that's the number one launch strategy that I see working right now. What we typically do is we focus 90% of the budget for the ads before just on the webinar part. So 90% of the budget is geared towards getting people to go to the webinar. That's cold traffic registering for the webinar. It's webinar reminder ads. It's even things like watch the replay. If people don't go to that webinar, they don't have the opportunity to transition through those steps, and they won't buy. So that's why you need to focus everything on getting to the webinar. The other thing is the sales ads are relatively simple for launches because you're basically retargeting people. So you're using those warm audiences. And the audiences are typically small enough that you can get by with a really low budget. So it's like 1,000 people, 5,000 people, somewhere in that neighborhood. You just need to reach those people. In Facebook land, that is a very tiny audience, and you can get people there really, really quickly. Now, the model we just talked about, if you're running your own business and you're spending your own money on ads, you might have noticed the part where I said, I'm spending 90% of the budget before I even run the webinar. So what that kind of amounts to is picking out a number on the roulette wheel. That's probably lower odds than I would recommend, but putting your ad budget on it and seeing if it converts. Or if you imagine the roulette wheel as like a bunch of different ads and target audiences, kind of spreading your chips around, and then they spin the ball and you see what you get. So that's the thing with live launches. You put all of your money up front to get people onto that webinar, and then your webinar better convert, your offer better convert. Because if it doesn't, you've already spent all the money. So it's difficult with launch clients that I have. That's always one of the big conversations is, what's your budget? How much do you want to spend? And that's also the reason why, except for some circumstances, all of my clients that I run launches for, it's not the first time they've done the launch. So if this is your first time and you're hearing some of these numbers and you're hearing some of this and thinking, geez, I don't think I'm ready for that. do a softer launch first. Launch it to your own list. Just boost some posts and get a few people in there. Maybe do like a JV launch or something. But you want to have those numbers kind of locked in for conversion rates. So if you get 100 people on your webinar, 2 or 3 are going to buy. And you can kind of back that out to reasonable ad spends, reasonable cost per leads, and kind of set some goals like that. Those are things that we work with our clients on, is setting all this stuff up. But there's a ton of work that goes into all of this beforehand. Now, let's contrast that with an Evergreen launch. This is my favorite offer on Facebook. So an Evergreen launch is essentially the same as the launch we were just talking about, but instead of putting all your chips on the table at first, you can do it over time. So you can put some chips down here, spin the wheel, see what you get. Put some chips down here, spin the wheel, see what you get. You can repeat that process with small budgets. They're usually automated, the Evergreen stuff, so it's usually not you performing a live webinar. It's like a just-in-time webinar where they can just sign up for the next time slot, or maybe you run it once or twice a week and they just choose what time slot they want. Those are, and then the email sequences on the back end are all dialed in to do this, to like put them through the whole sequence as if it were a live launch, but it's just for them. Now, not only do Evergreen webinars help you with the how much should I spend up front problem, or gamble in some cases, it's a lot more comfortable to run. And the other thing they do, though, is the thing that makes Facebook ads so powerful is the way that they can optimize over time. And especially if you're a skilled ad manager, or you have experience with how to get the most out of Facebook, we oftentimes with a client campaign, we'll start off with somewhere in the neighborhood of like $40 to $100 a day on an Evergreen campaign. The sales cycle is generally like 3 or 4 days. And so a week later, we know what the conversion rates were there. We have campaigns that we've started off at that level that are now spending like, $800, $900 a day. And they're still profitable. And the part that we got to skip because it's Evergreen was we got to skip the part where we said, hey, let's put $20,000 on these numbers and hope it converts and hope there's no GoToWebinar technical problems and my email stuff all works. We got to kind of ease into the water and scale it. And not only is that easier on my clients who are actually running the webinars and responsible for this stuff, but it's easier to manage as an ad team too, because we can see what ads are working, what hooks are working, what creative's working. We can take the audiences that are working, we can scale them. So we can blow these campaigns up huge. And we can take advantage of what Facebook does best over time, which is optimizing things. So the more data that you get, the more conversions that you get going through your webinar, the more Facebook is going to be able to optimize things for you. So it's hugely powerful. If there's any way, if you're considering like live versus Evergreen or anything like that, then absolutely, I'm a huge fan of Evergreen launches. If you have any questions about any of that or kind of the technology behind it or stuff that makes it easier, that's kind of my favorite thing. I'm a tech nerd, obviously, playing with OBS Studio and all that, whatnot. So there's one more thing that I want to share with you today, and this is brand new, hot off the press. So I'm going to pull it up here and even make sure that I put it in the comments. So in the text of this ad, I mentioned a one-time event that I'm going to be opening up in the next week. And I'm just going to be doing this to my email list. I might mention it here on my page, but the thing is, I'm just swamped with launches and client stuff right now. So within the agency business is just very busy this time of year for me. And let's add on one more thing to that. My wife and I are expecting our second kid. We're sometime this month. Today's March 1st. Sometime this month. So I'm not adding on any new clients, and right now I'm kind of in a holding pattern there, just trying to get through some launches and see what's coming up next. So I put together this thing though, and I had this kind of sitting on my desk for a while. It's a new it's a course, I guess, for lack of a better word, but it's different than that, called Facebook Campaign Accelerator. And I'm going to do something super, super unique with this. And it's going to be something that doesn't exist in the marketplace already. But what it is it's an opportunity for me to take this stuff that I've been teaching you guys a little bit here, and some of the stuff that, a lot of stuff that I never mentioned anywhere outside of the agency, and a lot of the stuff that I've been learning from some other ad agency managers that I've been spending a lot of time with recently. And I've put all that stuff into a system. And let's just say I'm going to be sharing some of that with you. It's going to be a way for you as a business owner to actually get a lot more mileage out of Facebook ads. So if you're interested in that at all, it's going to be taught in a really unique format. I'm only planning on doing this one time so far because it's going to take a lot of my time. You're going to get to actually interact with me and have me look at your business and your stuff. And so yeah, I'm super, super excited about that. But because I'm so busy with like all of the stuff in my life and all the stuff in my business right now, it's not going to be your normal launch. So I'm not going to be putting out a big webinar. I'm not going to do like tons of sales emails and all this other stuff that you're used to seeing marketers do. Basically when that's their business, because my business is running an ad agency. Okay. I have clients running launches right now, and I'm busy behind the scenes, making sure all that stuff is working. So what I'm going to do instead is I put together this form. And actually let me pull this up in the other tab. So this is going to be a super kind of just off the cuff. Not off the cuff. That's totally the wrong word. I can't find the other tab. So this is going to be a super different launch than normal. And I wanted to call it out here because I don't want you to miss it. I made this email form literally while like moments before I pressed go live, because I'm only going to be taking 10 people into this, and I'm going to start talking about it next week and start kind of dripping out some of the details. I've already got most of it finalized, but this is going to go quickly, and again, I don't have the resources to put into a webinar. So I'm going to be doing this entire launch over email. But if you're not on my email list already, then you need to get on it. And so that's exactly what this form is for. I went ahead and put a link in the comments right here, so you can just click that, sign up. Right now, there's no follow-up emails in it because I just made it for this Facebook Live, because I know a lot of you guys aren't on my list, but you should be. So within the next week, today's Wednesday, on Monday, I'm going to start sending out some emails there. I promise you, it's not just going to be pitch emails, right? I'm going to teach you guys some really cool stuff. Actually, let me pull up my Evernote here, because I've been going back and forth between two ideas to teach, and I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys would be most interested in. So one of them is the perfect Facebook ad. So I could go through a formula for how we create Facebook ads and some of the elements that we use and all of that kind of stuff, just kind of focused on the ad. The other direction I've been thinking about going is Facebook ad funnels that are working right now. And there's a few different niches that I could go into, but actually show you the funnels that are working and some kind of behind the scenes stuff on that. So those are the kind of two things that I'm going to be starting to teach through this email list starting on Monday. And so definitely click the link. Click the link above. Make sure you're on that list. Again, this Facebook Campaign Accelerator thing that I'm going to be releasing in the next, probably, see, if I start sending emails Monday, it'll probably be 7 to 10 days after that. There's nothing else out there like this. And if you've been through other Facebook ad courses, I promise you this one is different. I've been through all of them. I run my own agency. I've trained with other agency owners, and this is going to be a really cool, special place, especially if you're running ads for your own business. And so that's all I'm going to say about that for right now. But this has been a fun Facebook Live session. And next week, so something else we've been getting into a lot lately is Wicked Reports and Funnel Dash and things like that. So if you're interested in ad attribution or any of these kind of big reporting tools, trying to figure out some of the nitty gritty numbers behind your ads and maybe some of the differences between Facebook reporting and Google Analytics reporting and all of these other ways you can get reporting, I'm going to start talking about that soon too. I'm really new to Wicked Reports. I've been through some of the other stuff recently, but I know a lot about analytics and a lot about attribution. And so I'm excited to put this stuff to work. I guess kind of my big question that I'd love to hear from you guys is, how deep do you want to go? Because I could talk all day about attribution and boring stuff like that. Most people don't care. And that's fine if you don't. That's why you hire somebody like my agency to figure out all that stuff for you. But whatever you guys want to know, I'd love to kind of show you some of the stuff, how it works, why it's better, how it differs from Facebook, anything like that. So pop any questions you have over to me, and that'll help me plan the next show. But other than that, I'll see you guys next week. Now, how many windows do I have open here? And where is my page where I'm streaming this so I can stop? All right, I'll see you guys next week.